Well, my name is Tela Anderson. I am Tela Pilates. I'm obviously a Pilates instructor. I'm a Pilates instructor. I am a teacher of teachers, so I certify teachers. I've done that for I've been teaching about probably 18 years now.
Okay.
Giving away my age.
I know.
And probably certifying students for maybe 13, 14 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why is it a bad thing to give away our age?
Well, I'm a dancer, so
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that at the age of 26, I was already lying about my age.
Really, eh?
Yeah, because you have a short shelf life as a dancer. So when you're going to auditions
Mhm.
and, things like that, they do tend to look at your age because they want to see like how much longevity they could get out of you for a company. So
Yes.
it was something that like, it would roll off my tongue like butter if I was 26. Oh, I'm 21.
Oh, really?
So yeah, isn't that odd? Like,
Yes.
I think it's really funny now that a 26-year-old would lie about their age. But yes, that's a thing.
That's the thing. Well, I just grew up in a West Indian household, so I was told never to tell my mom's age. So,
Right. Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. My kids ask my age, and I'm like, never mind.
never mind.
Never
I had to look at my parents' license one
mind.
time and do the math, and that's the only way that I would figure that out because, like, to this day, they wouldn't say their age.
Exactly. Yeah, we know better. Especially when your kids are little, they'll just go telling everybody your business. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly the time they used to. Like,
Yeah.
don't go tell them my business on the road. Just mm,
Exactly.
too funny. Yeah, you're gonna see your people start to pop up on the feed here as well and cheering you on.
Awesome.
Black Hat Plies Hamburg, she's also a dancer, so she totally gets it. Like, do you guys know each other through the Black Girl Plies group stuff
Oh
or
yeah,
no? Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so
A long, long time ago, Sonia was a student of mine.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so it's so funny. Eh? So any dancers out there that lie about your age, hands raised in the
I see Michelle hopped on No Excuses Pilates. Hey, girl.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love to get them
Um,
on. I just love connecting with everyone, especially your like Black Girl Plies group, man. Like you guys are all for real and
yeah. I love
such
the girls. Yeah.
great people.
Yeah. No, they are. They are. It's a great group of people. Great community.
Such good support.
Yeah.
So how'd you get connected with Real Pilates?
Actually, that's a good story. It was an accident.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
I actually, so to make a long story short, I had left my previous job where I had been working at a different studio and I was certifying instructors there as well. So I was a teacher of teachers there. And I got really burnt out, just like extremely burnt out. I was working
Mm,
probably over 60 hours a week,
yes.
training, teaching, always having somebody observing me. And I just got really burnt out. And
Mm,
so when I left that job, I said, you know what? I don't want to work for anyone else in the business. I'm going to do my own thing. I'll
yeah.
rent space. I'll maybe find my own space, but I really didn't want to work for anybody. And so
Yeah.
for maybe about a year, I didn't. And I was living a good life and I
Great.
was renting space and everything was good. And then one day I got a phone call from a former apprentice who is now a teacher teaching at Real Pilates. And she said, hey, listen, Alicia Ungaro, Real Pilates is hiring. And, she's got some good benefit packages. Why don't you come over? And I was like, no, I don't really want to
Mm,
do that. I said, but you
yes.
know what? I've read all of her books and I greatly admire her. It'd be nice to come and take some sessions, but, thanks for asking. And she's like, okay. And then maybe a day later, I get a phone call from Alicia.
That
And
helps.
I'm like, oh, well, hello there.
Yes.
Caught me off guard. And she says, hey, listen, I'm looking for instructors and I would love for you to come and audition for me. And in my head, I'm like, well, what would it hurt to come audition and at least meet her? Because I admired her. I loved her books. I loved, and the video, she did the video series with Bob. And so I said, sure, I'll come in. She's like, okay, when
Mhm.
can you come in? And I said, how about in like 2 weeks from Friday?
Yeah.
And she kind
Yeah.
of laughed and she said, yeah, how about it's it's Tuesday. How about Thursday? And I said,
Right.
well, I guess Thursday it is.
Right.
So I actually remember being downtown and I was having a conversation with my mom on the phone before I went to the interview. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm going to this interview, but I'm not going to take the job. I'm just going to the interview. And she said, well, why would you go to an interview if you're not going to take the job? I said, I don't want the job. I just want to meet the woman. And she's like, okay, that doesn't make sense, but whatever. Go ahead, have fun. So I get to the interview and I do my thing and I interview and I'm like, great, I met Alicia O'Gara, it's great and fantastic. And then we got to talking and we had a great conversation and it just, I honestly don't know how I walked out with the job, but I did. It was kind of like, she kind of asked me like, hey, if you were going to work for me, what day would you want to work? And I was like, I don't know. I don't really do anything on Wednesdays. And she said, great. Let's see what we can work on Wednesday. I'm like, okay. And it was kind of one of those things like, and what do you think you should get paid? I'm like, what do you think I should? I mean, throw out a number. It was just one of those things where I walked away going, oh, I think that I'm going to show up on Wednesday and work for her. I don't really know how that happened.
Yes.
So that's actually how Real Pilates happened. And now it's almost 14 years later.
Really?
Yeah. So I literally started working one day a week. Yes. And I was just kind of like, okay. And then I slowly inched my way and became full time. So it was literally the job that I never wanted, but here I am. And
it sounds like you've been able to craft it in a way that you like when you were able to do a job on your terms. That's the best possible scenario.
Exactly.
Right.
As long as if you're working for someone and as long as it's working for you, you stick to it. And it's been great for me. I've loved it. I work with a lot of other amazing instructors. I've gotten to meet a lot of people. I'm a teacher of teachers in her program. And so it's always it's worked for me. And it's also allowed me to be home with my kids, which to me is the most important thing. They're little. You're never going to get that time back. And working at Real Pilates has been amazing. I've been able to stay with my kids, work a few days, be at home more days that I'm working. And it's amazing.
Yes. Perfect. And even through the interview process, it sounds like you unconsciously were interviewing her as well.
Actually, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. But I never thought about it that way. But yeah, I did not want to work for someone, but it was just such an interesting interview in that it wasn't like, you're right. It wasn't really the typical like her interviewing me. It was more like she was asking me questions like, if you work here, when would you want to work here? What would you want to get paid?
Yes.
And it was a very, and that, I think that's why I ended up working for her because it wasn't like her telling me this is what I'm, it was more of like, you tell me why you would want to work here, It was a very interesting interview.
I'm reading this book right now, and it's about a basketball manager, like Wayne Embry. I don't know how much you know about basketball, but Wayne, I get this. He's like, I don't even know how old he is. I want to like say he's 80 and lie about his age, but he's one of the first black managers in the NBA with the Cavs, and now he works with the Toronto Raptors, and he has a book out about racism in the industry and blah blah blah. And just the interview process is just funny how we go to an interview and we think that they're interviewing us for a job, and the reality is that we're interviewing them for the job as well, right? So he talked about the scenarios of racism and handling that in the 70s and whatnot. But the similarities to what you just did there, that just speaks to the power that we have as people. You decided, I don't want to work for anyone, and this lady brings you in, and now you're deciding in this interview process if you're going to give that up to her or not.
Right.
So the power balance is a lot more than we think, because you're interviewing, okay, how is she treating me? Is she giving me respect? Is she listening to me? Because if I'm working for her and she's not respecting me, she's not asking me questions, she's not interested in what's happening in my life outside of here, I'm not going to work for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And and that's one thing that I did, that's one thing that I noticed right away. It seemed that she was going to be fair. And, previously I do not think that I was treated fairly, which is why I left. It was just a lot of overworking. I didn't feel appreciated. Especially if anybody knows me, I have a pretty high work ethic. and just to not, it was just, I felt really underappreciated. Let's just say
Yes,
that.
yes. Right.
So I think that was the one thing that when I went to this interview, it stuck out at me that she was going to be fair. She, you know, she asked me what I wanted,
Yes.
you know, and so I thought, let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that fairness, when you were talking about burnout earlier, I mean, that burnout really, it sounds like that burnout came from that lack of appreciation for the work you're putting in, not the work that you're putting in.
Right. It's one of those things, you know, I mean, I love what I do. You love what you
Yes.
do. We love what we
Yes.
do, but, um, you know, when you're underappreciated, it's almost like they just want more and more
Yes.
and more, and they don't ever say thank you, and they keep asking for
Mm.
more and more and more. And you know, and especially because you are working with people, you reach a certain limit that, and I'll say this now, like when you work with people, if you are, I look forward to working with every client. I look forward to going to work every day, but I really did get to the point where I didn't want to. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to see anybody. And that's not
Yes.
like, that's complete burnout, and you need to step away because, uh,
Yes.
you know, you can't have that mindset
Mm-mm.
when you're working with people, you know, and I did, a Pilates Style magazine, article about that is like, you know, that was really a big life lesson in learning that I have to fill up my cup before I
Yes.
can give out anything. And when your
Hmm.
cup is empty, it's not good. It's not good
It's
for
not
you.
good.
It's not good for the client, you know. So I'm actually really glad that I stepped away from that job. I took a solo vacation at the time. I was
Good
single.
for
So
you. Yeah.
you know, I did a little Stella got a groove back. I took a solo vacation, much to my family's, they weren't happy about that because I
Yes.
literally showed up in Mexico by myself. Maybe not what you do. I would never do that now, but in my 20s, I thought it was a great idea.
Right.
Um,
Well, glad to
but
see you made it back. Yeah.
I made it back. Everything was great. But yeah, it was actually a great trip. It was the longest amount of time that I had off in years. So
Hmm.
I think I took a 3-week vacation. It was amazing. And I read books on the beach. I just let my mind, you know,
Yes.
come back to me as opposed to always
Hmm.
being out there. And it was amazing. And that time definitely changed my life. It changed my outlook, on what I did, how I was going to
Love
do it.
that.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I came back and I worked a lot less.
Yes.
You know, I went from working over 60 hours a week to working maybe 20.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and, you know, I found my magic spot where,
Perfect.
you know,
Yeah.
I have time for me and you know, therefore you can give more to your clients. So
Right.
it
Exactly.
was a great time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's 60 hours when you are filling that tank up and up. It's amazing how long you can sustain that 60 hours. As much as that seems crazy,
Yeah.
when you know that you can stop when you want to, you're getting appreciated when you're pouring that in. If
Hmm.
it's reciprocated,
Yeah. It's a
that
totally different
energy
story.
is it's totally different story.
Totally different story. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I remember one of the posts that I have, I always do these like Finish Strong Friday posts, right? And it's like one of those things where it's kind of like my time, reflect and whatever. And one of them was about giving yourself oxygen first. And it's a story of the analogy of when you're on a plane, they have like, that drop down bag for the oxygen,
Hmm.
right? And they say, that in the case of emergency, you put your oxygen mask on first, then
Yeah,
you give it to your child. And you
absolutely.
think you give it to the child first, make sure they're like, no, if I don't have my oxygen, I can't take care of anyone else around me.
Right. Yeah.
And that was one of my life lessons going through, my divorce or just burnout, all those different things that like I need to take care of myself first. I need to put my oxygen mask on first before I can help those around me. As much as they are needy,
Yeah.
this is the person that matters.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's absolutely 100%. And that was a lesson I learned the hard way.
Right.
But
Yes.
a lesson that needed to be learned, right?
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, it's just interesting to look back. And I think it was definitely a great time, a great lesson. And I feel like some of the worst times that we have, like the worst struggles that we have, teach us the biggest lessons, you know.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah.
it taught me how I wanted to be treated as an
Hmm.
employee, how I, you know, and I also knew that, you know, you can't, you can't burn both ends of the stick and not
Yes.
expect yourself to completely burn out. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And there's I'm learning more about this dancer culture through the conversations I've had, with everybody. And it sounds like, that is a real challenge to your character, your upbringing, because you're always performing, you're always pleasing, you're always thing, and you're on the verge of being cut. And so I'm just hearing little nuggets from people that this life really does test your mettle as a human being.
Absolutely. I mean, you literally are. I was actually also an elite gymnast, so on my way to the Olympics.
Okay.
And
Oh,
I got stopped.
really?
Yeah, yeah, I was actually like way up there. But
Mhm.
I got stopped by an injury, which is why I became a dancer. I had to stop gymnastics because of an injury. And to be honest, I probably, again, one of the best things that ever happened to me. I was on, it's interesting when you do things as a child and you're on this like course and you don't actually ever think, is this what I want?
Yes.
Do I want to live this life?
Mhm.
Um, and it's funny, I didn't want to live the life. And so when I got this injury and the doctor said, hey, listen, we're going to have to do this extensive surgery and you would never be able to do like let's say dance or anything like else. And I used to dance for fun on the side of gymnastics. And, um, I get home, my mom says, did you ever consider that you would want to dance or anything like that? And I just thought, wait a minute, someone's giving me a choice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it was I remember it clear as day. I was 12 years old thinking, I have a choice. Like I could stop this right now. And,
Yes.
I'm going to be honest, gymnastics in comparison to dance was a lot mentally harder because you are literally competing
Yes.
nonstop.
Yes.
You are literally competing. You get a number, you
Hmm.
get medals, you try. I mean, it's a hard life.
Yes.
And
Yes.
funny, I look back at pictures of myself as a child in these meets and it's funny. It didn't matter if I was in first place, third, fourth, fifth. I always had this look on my face like it wasn't good enough. You know what I mean?
Really?
And yeah, like that's what strikes me when I
Yes.
look at my pictures as a child. Like, I'm on second place or third place. You can see like the disappointment in my face
Disappointment.
that I'm
Yeah.
not first. And but I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You compete. That's the drive that you need
Yes.
to get to the Olympics and to get to the
Of
top. So
course. Yeah.
it's very much, but when I was given the choice, I actually was very happy to step away from the gymnastics
Yes.
and lean more towards dance. So yeah. And then, yeah, so I basically have been competing my entire life as you're understanding now most dancers do.
Yes.
Um, but I would love to know about how you came to Pilates. Like, what is your fitness and sports background?
Well, I played football. So that was like my main sport from high school.
Hmm.
And I think it was probably like grade 9 or 10, I hurt my back. And I
Hmm.
went to a chiro, and the chiro was basically like, okay, well, stop playing football and your back will get better. So like, thank you and goodbye, right? So I kept playing football. We went to university, played university ball, and my back still was, bothering me. And off season, I would, go back to the gym, and I took this Pilates class at the gym I was working out at, and it was pretty challenging. And I was still going to a chiro. I found another chiro who actually knew what he was talking about, and was able to just go to him and do Pilates. And I realized that the more Pilates I was doing, the less I needed to go to the chiro,
Yes.
right?
It's
So,
so true.
and
Yeah.
it's and really, and that's why I say like it's prehab instead of rehab.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. So, and over time I did that. So I started, once I got into personal training a little further down the road, I took like just a special, like it's just a mat class, a mat Pilates certification for my own interest.
Hmm.
And the lady doing it was like, that real sing-songy dance type thing. I was like, "Ah," like, and I was like, I'm never going to teach it because I'm not going to sing to my clients. So, but I learned a lot from my own body. And then, fast forward a bunch of years, I'm working at Lifetime and had an opportunity to do the Peak Pilates, the comprehensive cert.
That's
So
awesome.
did my whole like comprehensive, mat,
Yeah.
Cadillac, the whole nine. Did that. So I did that probably almost like 7 or 8 years ago.
Hmm.
And then just recently, I just completed another apprenticeship. So with Lily Viola's studio in Toronto, Chris Robinson came and taught. So I got a chance to actually sit under like a male like athlete
That's
kickboxer type
awesome.
thing, right? So and it's a
Yeah.
different perspective, right? So
Oh,
then a dancer
absolutely.
having like you know a black male who is not a dancer teaching you Pilates, like okay, there's someone that I can actually identify with because I can't get
Yeah.
my foot behind my ear like someone, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of like my career path, just recognizing that athletes need it. And if I had this when I was playing, it would have been such a game changer instead of going from Cairo to Cairo to figure out what's going on with my back.
Absolutely.
And I'm 45, I'm like injury free. I'm like kicking myself that I didn't have this like 20 years ago when I was playing, right? So
Same.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish I would have done this in my teen years because I think I would have avoided a lot of injury.
Yes. Oh,
You know, I
absolutely.
feel
Yeah.
strong, and like you said, like I am in my 40s.
There you go. Is that the truth?
I
No, just
feel,
play.
yeah, I feel stronger, physically than when I was in my 20s, my
Yes.
early 20s. Um, I think Pilates is the kind of strength that once you have it, you don't lose it. You just keep, building on it. Um,
Yes.
and I always say Pilates was always such a gift to me because no matter where you are in life, like what's going on, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, Pilates can kind of meet you where you are
Yes.
and get you going. And again, it's both, it's
Absolutely.
not only physically, but also mentally. That was one
Yes.
thing that Brett Howard taught me.
Yes.
One of the main things, I laugh at it now because he would always say, Tela Anderson, get it together. Because he met me, I was in my 20s, and I might have had a ton of crazy things going on in my life, but when we came in the studio, he would stand and have Brett stands, and he would look at me, and I would be talking about whatever crazy thing was going on, and he would say, Tela Anderson, get it together, on the mat you go. And that was it. We were
Okay.
working, like,
Dial it
and
in.
I
Yeah.
feel like that was probably, again, one of the best lessons ever because it was like, doesn't matter what is going on. This is time for Pilates.
Yes.
Shut it out and
Yes.
let's go. And so,
Yes.
again, like it taught me, like, focus, go,
Right.
stop all that and let's go. And, you have a journey to go with Pilates. It's good. And I mean, it's a great metaphor for life. It's a great quote from Brett Howard. Yeah, get it
Yes.
together. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
time to work. It's time to work on your body, your mind.
Yes.
Let it all go.
I find I open with a lot of my classes just saying, "Are we here?
Yeah.
Are we here? Okay, we're here, right? We're not dropping the kids off at school. We're not thinking about our appointment at 11. Are we here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's go." Like,
Now let's
like,
go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, it's so true because I mean, isn't that how we get sidetracked with everything in life, right? Thinking
absolutely.
instead of doing what we're supposed to do, we start thinking about other things and blah blah, and 30 minutes later, we've got nothing done.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's being present is so key.
Yeah.
And then, in terms of just like my own Pilates path too, the other part that I was thinking about in this is that I've been in personal training since 2002, doing it forever. And at the same time, I was thinking that Pilates is, because there's so many verbal cues in it, it's not like you're getting under a squat rack every single day. I don't have to demonstrate burpees all the time. So there's a longevity to my career in this fitness world as well as the fact that there's a longevity to my life for doing Pilates.
Absolutely. That's actually how I came to Pilates. So I started off, I was a dancer and a personal trainer. I started doing personal training when I was 18, so very early, and teaching dance classes early as well. And never even thought anything about longevity or, I was dancing. I was very fit, obviously very much in shape and,
Yes.
very much taking that for granted.
Yes.
So I was in New York in my early 20s, and I was making money by teaching dance and by personal training.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day in a rehearsal, I injured my knee. I went down and I didn't get back up.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad tear in my meniscus. There's like different types of tears, kind of like the worst one. So I didn't walk for about 3 months. And now I found myself really poor because
Right, there's, yeah, exactly.
right, like the
Your
only
money's
way I made
attached to your
money,
mobility.
right, the only way I was making money was on my physical ability. So,
Yes.
you know, I didn't even walk. I was on crutches, could not bear weight at all. So then I figured, well, now I'm gonna lose my insurance and I need knee surgery. It was a little bit of a mess. Um, and so once I was able to bear weight on it, I was like, all right, I gotta get a job. So I ended up getting a cocktailing job, bartending cocktailing job. What else do
Yes.
you do when you're poor in the city and in
Right.
your early 20s, and you can't dance? So I ended up working bartending and cocktailing at this bar. And as random as it is, one night, you know, usually after work, you'll sit down with your coworkers, have a drink, talk, whatever, and then you go home. So one day we had a guest manager.
Okay.
And after work, we sit down with this guest manager, and she said, "So what do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a dancer and a personal trainer, and I can't really walk, as you've seen. I have like hobble behind the bar, and so I have to have knee surgery, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, my next step." And I said, randomly out of my mind, I said, "You know, I always wanted to get certified in Pilates, and now would be a great time since I have all this free time on my hands. I'm not dancing or rehearsing, but now I don't have the money." And she said, "That's really funny. You should say that because I just opened a studio down the street." And I was like, "No."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "That's amazing." She said, "Why don't you come and talk to me?" You know, she gave me her card. She's like, "Here's my number. Come talk to me because we might, you know, have a training program soon." And I was like, "Okay." So, you know,
Yes.
I think pretty much the next day I was like,
Yes. That's
and the rest is history. I never did get knee surgery because guess what? Pilates really works.
hmm.
So, you know, 17 years later, there was no knee surgery.
Wow. Yeah.
Pilates. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So healed my
hmm.
knee, healed my back. You know, it really is. Pilates is kind of a gift that keeps on giving because
Yes.
it, you hit the nail on the head when you said that you have to do more Pilates. You know, like
Yes.
doing more Pilates made you see the chiropractor get less. And that's pretty much my model. Whatever, I
hmm.
love to do a lot of things. I love to cross train, and but whatever I do, I have to do Pilates more than I do anything else.
Yes.
That's just the end
Yes.
of the story. Or else I end up
Right.
hurting myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even end the day, like yesterday with Mike Piercy on, like, you know, all the sport conditioning stuff. Like, I love that stuff. I'm a TRX guy, like, taught with them, with Viper, all this stuff. So, like, I'll throw down, but then I feel like even one of those days when I do those kind of workouts, like, and let's get back on the mat. Like, let's
And
finish off
yes,
our
absolutely.
day, you know, and just almost like put everything back in place after you beat it up.
Exactly.
And, but you know, at the same time, philosophically, that's what Joseph Pilates would say too. Like, Pilates isn't the end in and of itself. It's a means to an end. It's to
Right.
make you better at your boxing, your gymnastics, your sport, you're chasing your kid, whatever it is you're doing. It's to give you ease of life doing those things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely, it improves your quality of life. I mean, I think I definitely probably would have had knee surgery. I probably would have had back surgery by now. I still can run. I'm still running with this bum knee of mine. And
Yes.
I literally attribute all that to Pilates. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It really works. I've never had surgery. I still run. I still do a lot of HIIT classes. You know, I do crazy things. I love TRX,
Yes.
you know, and I still dance. I still teach dance. So, you know, I don't think I'm doing too bad, but I think Pilates has really been a gift to me. And especially after my second pregnancy, which was a difficult one.
Okay.
He was my son was a preemie, and I was hospitalized for I think 6 weeks before he was born.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had obviously great doctors. They saved both of our lives. Both of our lives were in jeopardy.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, we're fine, but that was a really hard physical recovery.
Yes.
Having to be that sedentary and then obviously taking care of a premature baby that's sick. I
Right.
let myself go for a while until
hmm
he was
hmm
okay. But again, it's like I remember, you know, one day, I don't know, it was probably 9 months later, after he was about 9 months old, thinking, how do I even start to put this back together?
Yeah. Like, where do
And
you
I
begin?
literally remember going, Pilates. Let's
Yes.
go. You know,
Mm.
and we did it. But you know, I
Love that.
remember I just was so far. I mean, having been so fit all my life, being so far from that after that pregnancy, and doing what I had to do as a mother. You know, you're going to put your kids first.
Of course.
But thinking, wow, I've never had to recover from something like this. So, but
Mm.
Pilates.
Pilates. Was there any like fitness guilt in the midst of that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't ever, I would never recommend, you know, having such a hiatus from, you know, your fitness workout,
Hmm.
but it is what it is. And also, you know, if you don't have enough help, you as a mother, you don't have a choice. Like you're gonna
Yes.
take care of
Right.
the child.
Right.
And my son, because he was a preemie, he had really bad reflux, so he would scream 18 hours a day. He
Oy.
couldn't actually be laid down because he would aspirate his milk
Yes.
and basically choke. I actually called 911 one night because he was choking on his own um,
Saliva.
or vomit, and so it would come up
Okay.
when you laid
Yes.
him down. And I literally had to suction his mouth. He wasn't breathing. So from that moment on, I think he was about 7 weeks when that happened. From that moment on, I legitimately tied him to me with one of those beautiful African wraps. I
Yes.
literally tied him to me, and the child never lay down. I actually slept with him like that for 6 months on a reflux wedge. I slept on the reflux wedge with him tied on top of me because I refused to let the child lay down.
Yeah.
So it was intense to say the least.
Yes.
So
Wow.
letting go of my fitness routine at the time was not even a thought. It was like, I'm going to keep this child alive. We're going to keep you
Yes.
alive. And so that's
Right.
what I did. I also had another child that, you know, had suffered as well because, you know, if you have one sick child, then the other child is going to not neglected, but
Right.
you know, like
Your
when I had to
attention's
be
more on the, of
hospitalized, I had to leave one
course.
child, you know, at
Yes.
home, you know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, when you're in that mode, it's like I'm gonna do what I got to do, damage control for these children, keep them alive.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, there was a lot of guilt after, but there was, you know, if I look back, there was no other choice.
Right.
You don't leave a screaming in pain child.
To get your burpees in.
Mom's gonna go work out. Now
Yeah.
that said, had I had more help, maybe I could have, but eh,
Yeah.
not when they're that sick. Yeah,
No, no, exactly. It puts in perspective. And you're in great shape too, right? So I can understand. The reason why I ask that is because when you're talking about yourself and your stage, you know where your life is and what your standard is for your body.
yeah,
But then yes, like like Poppy AKA said, like you're in survival mode,
yeah,
and you just need to give yourself room, give yourself space to be in that survivor mode and just shelf that and know that, yes,
yeah,
Pilates will get you back and your fitness will get you back because this is what you do, right?
yeah, yeah. And when the time, absolutely, and you know, when the time came to get back, I got back at it, you know,
Yes, yeah,
and I started with Pilates, and we went from there. And now, you know, back to the thing. Now it's actually funny. My son works out with me, so
fun. And
yeah.
what are their ages again?
So I have a daughter who's 9 and a son who is 4.
Mm,
Yeah.
fun.
And he'll grab, you know, I'll lift weights. He'll grab the push-up handles and, you know, some iron.
Yep.
So now we work out together, which is a beautiful thing.
Yes, love it. And I always say with kids, there's more things that are caught than taught, right? So you could preach healthy eating and healthy movement, but until they see mommy moving,
Hmm. Yeah. No,
right?
it's true. It's true. And I do see that in my kids where, you know, they're typical kids. You know, they're not going to say no to a popsicle, but
Of
at the
course.
same time, they drink green juice. Even to I'm like, hey, that's mommy's green juice, get it back. But you know, they eat
Yes.
healthy, they eat your vegetables, but it's only because they see me do that and they
Hmm.
want
Hmm.
to emulate that.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
My wife's watching this, and I know she knows my kids. Like one of my kids does not eat vegetables at all. So I'm like, "Argh." But at the same time, he's the same kid that like the very first time he was allowed to go on beyond the fence onto the field by himself as a little kid. I look over the fence and he's doing like push-ups and working on backflips in the open field, right? So it's just like
okay,
he has a love for movement. Like in my
yeah,
Instagram stuff, he's just doing crazy stuff. He's fearless.
I love it.
Um, so like they see that joy of movement that we have and they emulate that because
They
that's
do,
all they know.
yeah. Yeah, no, they
Yeah.
do. And it's really cute to see, like, you know, when your kids do what they see, and you're like, wow, you know, like I was worried that you were only going to eat, I don't know, waffles for the rest of your life, but look at you
Right.
eating broccoli now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with waffles for the waffle lovers out there. Just
Yeah, it's all good.
it's all good. So you're in nutrition too, right? Like you're a nutritionist as well?
I'm not actually a licensed nutritionist, but it is
Okay.
kind of my thing.
Okay.
I'm a little crunchy. I'm a little
Yeah.
crunchy. Yeah. um, let's see, where did that start? So, I mean, that's a good story. So, I used to live. I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really know much about food,
Hmm.
um, except as a dancer, not to eat a lot of it.
Right. That's the rule, right?
And then I I was already teaching Pilates, but I was living in, and this is, you know, kind of sad to say how this happened, but I was living in an up and coming neighborhood in Brooklyn,
Hmm.
meaning that there was basically a lot of projects, and then they were starting to kind of gentrify it and bring in.
Yes.
So there was two new apartment buildings, and I lived in one of them,
Yes.
and it was like, go this way, not that way, right? Don't
Yes.
ever go
Yes.
that way.
Hmm.
And so I would shop at the stores. Now I didn't actually know that there was a difference in grocery stores, right? I didn't know that there was a difference
Yes.
in quality.
Ah.
I didn't think anything of it, right? So I'm
Mhm.
shopping at these, let's say, I hate to say it, but lesser quality grocery stores.
Yes.
And, you know, probably getting a lot of heavily sprayed produce and, you know,
Yes.
and my
Yes.
health started to fail me big time.
Hmm.
I felt terrible, and I kept going to doctors, and they were like, we don't know what's wrong with you. It seems like something autoimmune, but we don't know. And like, we can't diagnose it. And I spent a lot of money trying to figure it out. And then randomly, I started watching YouTube videos about this couple that traveled around in an RV interviewing healthy people, like health food people, people in
Yes.
health, like raw foodists, vegetarians, vegans, and they just all different types of people. Um, and I know it sounds silly, but I learned so much from them about what's in our food.
Hmm.
And I learned, you know,
Yes.
wow, it's really important what you put in your body.
Yes.
And so I
Yeah.
went off the deep end with that. So I became, I literally got to the point where I juiced at least 3 times a day. I legitimately had a separate refrigerator freezer for all of my juicing and smoothie ingredients. I shopped
Wow.
100% organic. This is before I had kids. 100% organic. It was a no joke.
Yeah.
I would almost call myself like a raw foodist.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I will say this, in the 2 years that I did this, my health
Of course.
360. I went from feeling terrible to feeling on top of the world, super high energy, uh, loving life, loving everybody. I mean, it's just, and you could, I mean, it's just, the difference is astounding. So yeah, I
Yes.
kind of like went down the deep edge with nutrition, and although I don't have a degree,
You're
I
passionate about
study
it.
all things nutrition, all things supplements, boosting the immune system, all kinds of stuff like that. And that actually did
Yes.
help me with my son when he was a baby, trying to heal his gut,
Of
um,
course. Yeah.
and heal his reflux. But yeah, I love nutrition.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give yourself the best chances at healing your body healing itself. The body is a powerful thing, really.
Hmm.
And it's only us that inhibit it by processed foods and like lack of sleep and stress and like all the burnout stuff we talked about. Like we set ourselves up for failure,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
the body really does want to heal itself.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the body can heal itself. It's just, uh, I don't think most people are aware of how much
Yeah.
healing the body can do. You know, I see, um, I do counsel people on the side, you know, nutrition counseling, and it's amazing. You know, you people that don't think twice about what they put in their body, medications, foods, you know, and then you see people, they're on all these medications when
Yes.
the problem is what you're eating. Like your
Yes.
problems would go away if you stopped eating that.
Yes.
and people really have no clue, like none. And
Right.
I mean, I found out naturally, like, through healing myself, but, yeah, it's kind of amazing to know that, like, you can, you know, high blood pressure, diabetes,
Yes.
all of those things,
Right.
pretty much, man-made. Like,
Right. Yes.
so, but it's actually, I do love seeing people transform their lives through nutrition and
Hmm.
also exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a question about your dance career. And actually not so much about your dance, but the term black ballerina.
That's a topic. Um,
That's the topic.
well, yeah, well, black ballerina. There aren't many. There are more today than there were when I was coming up. Yeah, it's so, all I can say about that is I think the dance world does still have a long way to come.
Hmm.
um, I grew up, uh, everywhere I went, I was on scholarship. So um,
Yes.
I got scholarships everywhere I went. So I got to study at some really prestigious schools: North Carolina School of the Arts, Virginia School of the Arts, and also Alvin Ailey School of Dance, where I was also on the Judith Jamin Scholarship, which is the highest scholarship you can get. Um,
Amazing.
but I will say this, it's not really an easy career to have, being a black ballerina, because
Hmm.
you're up against a lot. How do I put this? So body type wise, you know,
Yes.
um, some of the assets
Hi,
that
Uni.
darker skinned women have may
Yes.
sometimes don't really go well with the ballet aesthetic, which is
Yes.
changing. It's changing slow,
But
but
in your day,
in my day, I was always the only black person wherever I
hmm,
went. I always knew that I would not be the star in Swan Lake. Like, that's not, you
yes,
don't have, you
a
don't do that,
chance.
right?
Right.
So it's
Yes.
like, I pretty much knew that, like, well, if there was like a Spanish part or an Arabian part, like, that's me.
Right.
But
Yes.
I did not have, you don't get the opportunities that you would if you were white. And that's just a true story.
Hmm.
Um, which is why when I did audition for Alvin Ailey, which um, it was kind of a godsend, because I finally felt comfortable in my skin, where
Yes.
I didn't have to, and that's, it's so sad to say, but I didn't have to, starve myself to try to look like, trying to erase my assets.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true.
And
Right.
I hate to say it, it's a sad thing to say, but I mean, it's 100% true.
Hmm.
They don't literally look fondly on the muscular type of build that I had. So,
Hmm.
I had to eat a lot less to try to look like, you
Mm.
know. But
Yes.
anyway, it's a thing, it's silly things that you don't think about, where they make, the ballet tights in flesh tone. Like, it's not my flesh tone.
That's not my flesh tone. Right. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
The same with the same with point shoes. They're made that's not my, I don't, so it
Hmm.
was amazing when I finally did go to Alvin Ailey and I saw black dancers and,
Hmm.
people of all colors. It was
Yes.
amazing. And I knew that there I would be judged on my talent and my abilities and my hard work, not
Yes.
the color of my skin,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
which was amazing. But yeah, being a black ballerina is not an easy thing. You're up against a lot there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to have a level playing field, it just where you're not being engaged, it's not being measured on your merit, your talent, your ability, your skills, like you said. Yeah, I can appreciate how difficult that is.
Yeah. And like I said, it's come a long way since I was a dancer. I see a lot of amazing, beautiful, wonderful black ballerinas being showcased, and I love it. But yeah, that simply just wasn't the case when I was coming up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is your daughter into dance now? Is she going to be following your footsteps?
She is, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Hmm.
She does really like dance. I don't know. That one's kind of, I see like architect in that one. I don't know.
Really?
She's got some math skills that she definitely didn't get from me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
But
great.
we'll see. She does love dance, and I'm going to encourage her in whatever she does.
Yes, that's the proper parent answer. Not
Pretty much,
you
yeah.
are going to make it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But most of all, yeah, like I think with any parent, I think most of all you want them to be happy, uh,
Yeah,
and
no,
healthy.
and healthy, exactly, and an athlete.
Of course, right.
Right,
Of
right. It's
course.
good. Like, I mean, yeah, school's important, but like you gotta no.
Chip off the old block,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun. We have like 7 minutes left. And for all the people that you teach as a master instructor and all those different things, I asked you kind of beforehand, like, what is your message for your people? And it's like, but like you said so many strong things, so many beautiful things about self-care and just taking care of yourself and like managing that burnout and being appreciated. So not to steal your words, but just kind of in summary, like what would you say is your message for your people?
I would always say, I think I would start again with take care of yourself first.
Mhm.
Because we can't take care of anybody else unless we take care of ourselves. And also, I think we need to uh, really form communities. I think community is a big thing, especially now that we've been locked in our houses.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, like me teaching people has actually kept me going, being
Yes.
able
Yes.
to come into people's homes with them and work them out. And, I think this, it's, when people don't exercise, the anxiety rises, the depression rises, right? So it's
Yes.
kind of amazing. Like I think I think the community, we've kept each other going. And I would say like,
Yeah.
we need to do more of that. Um,
Absolutely. Love it.
stay with each other, keep each other accountable, and keep moving together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you, Tila.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Core Conversations. This organic platform has been made possible by amazing people like yourself. So if you're a Pilates instructor or a movement specialist of some kind and you want to be a guest, please message me. If you're in some other field and the messages just resonate with you, message me. I'd love to have you on. All of our messages connect, and for some reason, they all help us in this battle. We're all in this game together, so I'd love to hear from you. Let your words be life to someone else. Check out our website, personalvictory.ca. Click the Core Conversations page to see who our upcoming guests are, and I will see you next time on Core Conversations.